What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video, and this one I'm going to be going over the optimal draft strategy in a 12-team PPR snake draft should you be given picks 4 through 6. Obviously, this will have some nuance to it depending upon your league format, so like I said, this will be operating under the assumption that you're in a standard 12-team league with picks 4 through 6. I will touch on how any sort of variation in your league size or league rules could impact that as well, but that's basically what I'm basing all of these off of. I'm also basing these assumptions off of the Fantasy Pros composite ADP, so do be sure to just check your own league, check your platform, see what those ADPs are going to look like, and make sure that there will be some nuance between your platform and other platforms, but just a good baseline to go off of here. So I think these are really fun videos to make. It's really fun just to sort of roadmap out your draft strategy going into a draft, to understand how many of each position you want to target through each of the rounds, understand where those positional drop-offs are, where those values are. I think this will be really helpful for that. So it's really helpful for me making these videos. I really hope you guys enjoy them too, and really hope that it's been useful in helping you guys prepare for your drafts. So yeah, with that, let's get into the first round here. So in round one, this one's pretty easy for me. If Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, or Jamar Chase are available, to me that's just pretty much an auto pick. It's pretty unlikely that you'll see them available at pick 6, although Tyreek Hill does seem to have an ADP right around pick 6 or 7. But Jefferson and Chase are likely going to be gone right away, and generally you'll see those two go along with Eckler and then Kupp or something around those first 3 or 4 picks. So if one of those top 3 receivers are there, I highly recommend taking them. Otherwise, I would highly recommend that you just take the best running back available, that being either CMC, Eckler, or Bijan. I don't have any strong preference in terms of the order that you want to take those guys in. My recommendation would be to take CMC over all of those guys, but if you want to take Bijan as high as any of the other two, I have no problem with that. And I just a little nuance as well. In a 10-team league, I do think this is an okay spot for you to take Travis Kelce if those top 3 wide receivers are gone. In smaller league formats, having the positional advantage at the tight end just means so much more, because everybody's team is a lot better. The smaller your league is, the smaller your teams are. So it is much more advantageous to get those positions where there's the much larger positional drop-offs. So high end quarterbacks, high end tight ends, they matter a lot more in smaller leagues. So I'd be willing to give Kelce the nod here if it's pick 4 through 6 if I'm in a 10-team league or smaller. So next up in round two, if you drafted a running back in round one, then I highly recommend that you just try and take the best wide receiver available. Some guys that you could look to target here would be guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle even is okay as an option as well. If you had taken a wide receiver in round one, then there are some running backs I'd be looking to take. Generally, though, the running backs I looked at that in this range aren't super exciting to me. There's guys like Tony Pollard, maybe Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Of those guys, Tony Pollard would be the only one that I'm really super excited about. So I would generally find myself just taking 2 wide receivers back to back to start the draft, rather than forcing myself to take a running back here unless Pollard's available. And then I'll also add on, if you did take Travis Kelce in round one, positionally it doesn't really matter what you take here in round two. I would just take the best player available, and for me that normally ends up being one of these high-end wide receivers. But if Pollard is available to you here in round two, I think that's a really great draft pick. Next up in round three, this is where it gets pretty easy as well. If any of the top 3 quarterbacks, those being Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen, make it to you in round three, I think those are pretty much auto picks for you. I would take whichever one you like the most out of the remaining available. If Mark Andrews as well makes it to you in round three, he's an auto pick for me here in round three. Obviously, if you took Travis Kelce in round one, that's probably not a great pick to draft, great draft pick to make here. So don't take Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. That's just going to put yourself in a weird spot. But assuming you don't have Kelce, I think Mark Andrews is a really great pick in round three. And otherwise, there's a couple players that I love to target. I generally am looking for guys like Chris Olave, Ramondre Stevenson, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, and Jahmyr Gibbs in this range. Chris Olave tends to be available here, especially on ESPN and other platforms where he's going a little bit later. But I think you can generally get Olave in round three, and that's what I'd be looking for. If you want to prioritize a running back, then I think Ramondre is a great pick there. So if you haven't taken a running back for the first 2 rounds, I would highly recommend prioritizing the running back position. But Ramondre would be the only guy that I would maybe give the nod over Chris Olave for there, just because you do kind of want to get out of the first 3 rounds with at least one running back if you can. Next up in round four, I think that you don't have a quarterback right now. I think that in round four, it's a great place to take Justin Herbert. I really think Herbert's going to be a guy that's going to be a huge positional advantage for you. If you do have a lean towards any of the other quarterbacks as well, like Lamar or Justin Fields, you're more than welcome to take them. I'm not as high on those guys, but I think taking a quarterback here in round four is totally okay. I just tend to be looking for Justin Herbert and otherwise avoiding it. If you have 0 running backs going into round four, though, I really do think you should prioritize taking one here. Guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders are all really great draft picks here, and I'd have no problem taking them. Otherwise, there's some really great wide receiver values that I love later here, because that there are such great running back values later on. I do prefer to push back and skip out in this round four, because I think that I can really get some good players in rounds 5, 6, and 7. So then I tend to find myself taking one of these 3 wide receivers. Those 3 wide receivers being Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, and Calvin Ridley. I don't really care which order you want to take those guys on. They're very different molds. I think Amari Cooper is probably just going to be like a high-end wide receiver too. Same thing for Keenan Allen, and Calvin Ridley's got a lot more boom-bust potential. So wider range of outcomes there, but I think they're all three really great picks for you to make in round 4. So any of those options are available, but I think that in general, I do find myself taking either Herbert or one of those 3 wide receivers, but if I don't have a running back, I will force myself to take one here in round 4. Next up in round 5, I think that if you don't have a running back at this point, you really do just need to take one. Guys in round 5 that are available to you are going to be James Conner, Alexander Mattison, Cam Akers. They'd all be really great picks for me in that order. Also, you could see a scenario where a guy like Miles Sanders slides. I know he's going towards like the end of round 4, so if you want to take him in round 5 and he's there, he's obviously a must draft there. If you only have one running back at this point, I still think it's totally okay to take one of these 3 running backs that I mentioned. I think that they're going to be really nice for you, but there are a lot of wide receivers I like here as well, and especially in a 3 wide receiver league, which tends to be my default. Most of the leagues I play in and have that 3rd wide receiver slot, I tend to prioritize really trying to make sure that I have at least 3 really good wide receivers in the first 5 rounds. So that would be my lean here. Normally, I'd like to get out of the first 5 rounds with 3 wide receivers, 1 or 2 running backs, and then if I only have 1 running back, I'm obviously going to have taken a really great draft pick at the quarterback or tight end position. So if you do have 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs at this point, you definitely need to take a wide receiver. Wide receivers that I love taking here are guys like Jerry Jeudy, Terry McLaurin, Mike Williams, plenty of other guys as well that I think are really great picks, but those tend to be my 3 most popular draft picks in this range. In round 6, if you don't have a tight end yet, this is where I find myself taking Dallas Goedert quite a bit. I've personally got him ranked as my tight end 3, and it just makes him a really great value to snag here in round 6. Otherwise, personally, I'm punting on the tight end position, and if I don't get Dallas Goedert, if I've missed out on Kelsey, Andrews, and Goedert, I find myself just waiting and taking 2 tight ends later on in the draft. If you don't have a quarterback yet, I think this is a great spot in round 6 to be taking Trevor Lawrence. I will note that normally he goes like at the middle to end of round 5, so I don't find myself getting Trevor Lawrence too often here, but if he does make it, he is pretty much an auto pick for me if I don't have a quarterback yet. Again, same thing with the quarterback position. If I miss on Trevor Lawrence here, I'm pretty much punting on the position. I think there's a really significant teardrop after Trevor Lawrence. You get into guys like Tua, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, guys like that. They're going to be really similar this season, so I don't really see any reason to reach on a quarterback if you miss out on the Trevor Lawrence tier here. If you only have 1 running back as well, I think it's perfectly okay to reach a little bit and take David Montgomery here. He normally goes at the end of round 7, but I love taking him even as high as round 6. So if I really want to make sure I can lock in my RB2, I have no problem taking David Montgomery here. If you already have 2 running backs, though, there are a lot of really good wide receivers you can take, guys that I would be more comfortable taking than playing the ADP game and hoping to get to David Montgomery later. That's where I would take guys like Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, plenty of other guys are really great picks here, but Christian Kirk would be another example. There's a lot of really good receivers that you can get here, and if you can wait that 1 extra round on David Montgomery, I would recommend doing it if you can. So finally here we've got round 7. For me, this is pretty much an auto pick. If David Montgomery's there, I'm taking David Montgomery in round 7 pretty much every time, regardless of league format as well. Put PPR, half PPR, non-PPR. David Montgomery's just a really awesome draft pick to be making here. If he is gone for whatever reason, then I would recommend you take the best wide receiver available, but because there's a huge drop-off in terms of the performance you're going to get out of your running backs here. There are a couple running backs you can get a couple rounds later that are okay, but there's no reason in being the guy that takes the first running back in the next tier here. So again, guys like Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans, all really good draft picks to make here in round 7. And if all of those guys are gone, then my favorite reach here would be one of the rookies. I personally would be looking for guys like Jordan Addison, JSN, Quentin Johnston would be an okay draft pick as well. Just really swing for some upside there. But in general, you'll be able to get at least one of those other guys that were available to you here. So just a quick recap here. If I have picks 4 through 6 in a snake draft here, after 7 rounds, I'd be looking to guarantee that I have at least 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs. If I have only 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs, that would mean that I drafted a really high-end tight end on the quarterback as well. At the quarterback position, I'm really just looking to wait until I can get really good value there. The values that I see that present themselves often are either one of the top 3 quarterbacks in round 3, so that being Hurts, Mahomes, or Josh Allen. In round 4, if Justin Herbert's available, I find myself taking him there. And in round 6, if Trevor Lawrence makes it to me, he's a pick for me. Otherwise, I'm not taking a quarterback in the first 7 rounds, and I'll look to grab one later on. At the tight end position, I'm looking to grab Mark Andrews in round 3 or Dallas Goedert in round 6. And like I mentioned as well, in the first round, it is okay to take Travis Kelce if you're in a 10-team league or smaller. But with the top 6 pick, I find myself waiting just a little bit longer for Travis Kelce if I'm in a larger league. So he'd be a guy that I'd be looking more to take like 7th, 8th, or 9th. So he'll definitely make the next video when I go over the best draft strategy through pick 7 through 9. But in this one, I think it's really only makes sense to take Kelce if you're in like a smaller league. But yeah. So that'll do it for the optimal draft strategy if you have picks 4 through 6 in a snake draft this season. Up next, I'll be doing a preseason week 1 recap, just sort of keep you guys up to date in terms of what news and notes there is coming in and around the league, things that are going to really sort of help sort of help us shape our opinions going on players that there's been a lot of ambiguity going into, really help us understand what's happening in preseason and sort of filter through the noise and understand what matters and what doesn't. I think a lot of stuff gets really mixed up in preseason, a lot of overhype, a lot of overreaction happens. I think I'm going to be here to help you guys sort of see through all that and understand what's important and what's not. So hope you guys like that video. If you guys like this one as well, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps me know that I'm doing a good job. It helps me know that you guys like the content. If it's your first time on the channel, please do take the time to subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. I really love seeing the community grow. I'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. We're like 615 right now, so it's a bit of a stretch, but I think we can do it if we just make that nice little push. So it's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate all the support we've been getting. If you do want to support the channel and join it as a member, that is available as well now. There'll be some fun little perks going on with that, but totally optional just if you're interested and want to help the channel as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.